Cynthia McKinney. For the people who doesn't know Cynthia, she's a former 6 times Congresswoman. I like to call her Congress Lady. She was born to a peace law enforcement officer. Her mom was a nurse, and since she was a little kid, her dad used to carry her over his shoulders while he was a policeman, and he used to go in front of Georgia Police Department to protest the discriminatory, policies of his department. So Cynthia knew about injustice, about discrimination, and about the right, what's right and what's wrong, since she was a little baby. Her dad became a congressman in their area for many times, and then Cynthia came on board. 6 times Congresswoman. She lost in 2002 because of 2 things. Number 1, her stance against the administration of George Bush, Dick Cheney, and Condoleezza Rice, and she asked for their impeachment. So it's one factor. The second factor, Cynthia is very clear about her positions and her opinion and her support to the Arab cause in Palestine, in Lebanon, or in any other place. She was the one who voted no on the invasion of Iraq. She stood against the invasion of Libya too. And she was on 2 ships to Gaza, Dignity in 2008 and 2009, Dignity and Spirit of Humanity, I think. Cynthia was arrested twice in her life in Israel and deported. So, yeah. In 2008, of course, after leaving the Democratic Party, I think, she ran on the ballot of the Green Party for President of the United States of America. And we hope to see her there. I can't say much about Cynthia. She's the best, and please, welcome with me, Congresswoman.
I want to thank AA4Syria, Arab Americans for Syria. I really want to thank you for understanding a lot more than most people do about what motivates the United States foreign policy, and for actually organizing yourselves to do something about the ravenous war machine that seeks to engulf the people of Syria. The first question, I guess, that I would like to, okay. Oh, they don't want the microphone to cover my face. I have spent too much of my time, as I have had the great fortune to travel around the world, apologizing for the policies of the United States government. I have spent very much of my time trying to change those policies. But one thing is very clear, and that is singular individuals can do very little against a rampaging war machine. But united, I believe that the power still rests with the people to change what is happening inside our country. So what I would like to start with is perhaps a description or a discussion, very brief, because this is a town hall meeting, and the organizers chose a town hall meeting format so that we could have the opportunity to interact with each other. When this event was first advertised, I received a lot of messages in my email inbox. And those messages, quite frankly, were not very favorable about my participation with this organization. The same kind of demonization about those who oppose the U.S. war machine that rampages all over the world for a particular reason was used not only now against what's happening in Syria, but also I experienced that same kind of demonization as we tried to fight what was happening with the NATO bombing and the war crimes and the crimes against humanity that were happening in Libya. So why not the USA? What is it about the United States that makes us decide that the way in which this country is moving forward is not the right way? Why not the USA? For me, the response is very clear, and that is that the United States itself is changing literally before our very eyes. The internal politics of the United States are changing. And so the U.S. that used to be, the U.S. that we all kind of believed in, is not the same United States as today. For example, with the erosion of civil liberties, the passage of legislation that takes away the rights that we have grown to know, that we have grown accustomed to exercising. It's a different United States today than it was many years ago. That in and of itself creates changes, I believe, in the way we should approach our idea of freedom and liberty in this country. Why not the United States in terms of foreign policy? What is happening in our country today that causes us to be able to wage the kinds of war that is taking place, not just in Syria, not just in Libya, but in Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Somalia, Yemen, and all of the other countries that are under attack now? What is it that is happening now that makes it time for us to ask, why Syria? I believe that we have two very important forces coming together. There were some people who decided that they needed to write a report, and that report was going to reflect what U.S. policy was going to be in the region. That report was written by members who have the ability to go inside and outside of the United States government, and they were part of an organization called the Project for a New American Century. The Project for a New American Century was comprised of individuals who were able to pull the levers of policy with respect to the United States government. And what were the policies that they hoped to implement? Those policies included a paper that was written by the authors the members of the Project for a New American Century. The name of that paper was A Clean Break. And what were the foundations of this new policy that was called A Clean Break? This policy was written on behalf of Benjamin Netanyahu. It was written by people inside the United States government, inside the think tanks that lead U.S. policy. It was written by these individuals for the Israel of the future. Now, why is that important? It is important because the clean break policy saw that Israel had an idea of itself that was bigger than what it was at the moment. And what was that idea? That idea was that Israel would no longer rely on the United States for anything. The United States would not be able to say to Israel that you cannot have the war against Iran that you want to have, because Israel would be able to make a clean break from U.S. policy and do whatever it is that Israel wanted to do. That is the importance of the clean break policy. Now, what does that have to do with Syria? I think it has everything to do with what's happening in Syria right now. And that is because we know that in order for Israel to be able to implement its clean break, that there were 7 countries in 5 years that had to be totally rolled over by the U.S. military. Those 7 countries included Syria. They included Iran, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen was not one, and Libya, that's right. Those 7 countries were targeted by the pro-Israel lobby that operates inside the United States government, inside and outside, for the kinds of troubles that now have been visited upon those countries. And of course, you know that Israel just bombed Sudan for the last 2 days. They are bombing Somalia literally now as we speak. And so this ravenous war machine is not going to stop until the foundation, the policy foundation, is implemented. And that is so that Israel no longer has the independence, no longer has the dependence on the United States, that it can do whatever it wants to do in the region. That is, I believe, why Syria is experiencing the troubles that Syria is experiencing today. And so then the question is, what is it that the people can do to stop this from happening? I visited Libya before the troubles. I visited Libya during the troubles. And I can tell you that I can absolutely not see how any group of people could want the kind of death and destruction visited upon their fellow country people as we saw in Libya. It cannot be allowed to happen in Syria. And so that is why organizations like Arab Americans for Syria is so important, because you have organized yourselves. And I'm hoping that you not only will organize yourselves here, but that this will be a nationwide organization that will take a stand publicly as many of you can be, because I know that there are problems back home and people's lives are on the line here as well as over there. And so that kind of strategizing on how to affect the policy is something that is going to have to be done. But please know that you are not alone. Please know that there is a community of peace-loving people inside this country who stand with you, who are ready to stand with you, no matter what. I think we have to just mention before we go to the question and answer period, the sad fact that none of us can rely on CNN, Fox, ABC, NBC, MSNBC, all of those media outlets that are known to be mainstream media. They are beholden to other people. And just as they could lie, and our leaders of positional authority inside our government could lie 935 times to justify war against the people of Iraq, I guarantee you that they are lying now to justify what's happening in Syria. The Syria Free Army, if my experience has anything, and you all are the experts and I am not, but I am an expert on what this government is willing to do on its behalf, on behalf of the leadership of Israel, and what it's willing to do to you in order to have its way. I am an expert in that. And so please don't think that any story is so phantasmagorical that it is not able to happen to you. It is capable of happening. And that's why we all have to join together to make sure that we stand as one and that we fight for the rights of the people of Syria to their own self-determination. Because that's what it's all about. So thank you very much. And I'm going to answer your questions.